All right, welcome everyone. After an exciting week one of games in the progression series here in the Discord, we enjoyed all of the glory that the Legend of Blue Eyes had for us. It brought nostalgia, classic cards, monsters we all remember from our youth, and also probably the shittiest format that we'll play in our entire time progressing. So, obviously, with the limited card pools, we saw a lot of I would say symmetry across the decks last week, right? Any giant soldier of stone enjoyers. But I thought there were a couple highlights in some deck techs and some plays that I wanted to call back to. So first, shout out to Max who brought out the Trihorn Dragon Beats. That was awesome. Enjoyed that immensely. And also shout out to Ash for bringing out the Stop Defense tech. I think many got to see your games first and followed, bracketing in a spell they maybe wouldn't have otherwise. That was sick. Those were the highs. There were also some pretty serious lows, namely every time Regeki resolved, including twice against me. I went 0-2. But it's a new week. It's a new week, and we move on to week two. So, taking a look at our standings after week one, we had Joe and Kyle pulling impressive 2-0s in the LOB format. A number of folks at 1-1, including our new joiners, who we're going to install at 1-1 for the week. And Will and I bringing up the rear, doing our best at 0-2 in week one. So just wanted to run down quickly for the first time the bonus pulls. I won't go over this every week. For each win, folks wrapped up 2 tournament pack ones, so you'll see Joe and Kyle each bagged 4 of those for their opening this week. All on the 1-1 players gained 2 tournament pack 1 packs, as well as 1 additional card save between their 2 boxes. So opening 2 sets of 24, you get to retain generally 2 from the set that you choose not to keep. They'll get to retain 3. And then Will and I, hopefully, having gone 0-2, will get to draw up some consistency by retaining 2 additional pulls from the box that we throw away, bringing us to a total of 4. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about our pulls this week. I'll go ahead and share. The folder has been created. I created a folder for myself. You'll see Ash's are in here as he opened ahead. I've gone ahead and pulled. I can tell you mine were really bad. I wish you all well and hope they go better. Let's first take a look at Metal Raiders, right? Metal Raiders, second set out of Yu-Gi-Oh! I would say the highlights of this set are the individual power put into many of the monster cards that were added to the game. You know, we're going to see those numbers tick up. I'm not going to read each and every one of them to you all. You all can count. You don't need me to do that for you, but I'll highlight some of the best ones. And we also see some future archetypes that while they receive like really meager support here, they're much better down the road, namely the Harpies archetype and the Gate Guardians. In terms of the power monsters, I'll try and scroll through quickly here. We've got the Dark Elf. We see the 4-star summonable, normal summonable 2,000 attack. Yes, you pay the drawback of your own life points, but it's board control, right? That has to be better. A number of others. We got the Cannon Soldier, not immediately relevant, but will allow for some disgusting stuff down the road. Probably the 2 most important to highlight are Sangan and Witch of the Black Forest. These 2, essentially, when one of them dies, they're able to cycle into a new monster from deck to hand, so you're kind of keeping that hand ever flowing with resources, which is the same but focused on defense, so take a look at those. And then along the lines of value generation, Magician of Faith. Ooh, this is a doozy in a format that has all the incredible spells we're going to see in Magic Ruler in a sec. Not to mention that card, what does it do again? Pot of Greed? Magician of Faith is just great for cycling and generating those resources. So highlighting a few of those there. A couple others of note, Summon Skull, becoming one of the stronger single tribute summons there is. Change of Heart and Mirror Force we'll come back to in a sec, just focusing on the monsters. Catapult Turtle, very good, and eventually will enable some degenerate shit. And then just a couple more here. Want to highlight the Thunder Dragon. These effectively allow you to thin your deck and play a 37-card deck, and also have use in archetypes down the road. Jirai Gumo, pretty strong 4-star summon. Again, ignore the costs on these things. You just have to be the type of player to commit. And then a couple others being 7-colored fish, if I can find it here. Normal summonable, 1800 attack monster, no drawback. And then finally, Mask of Darkness, which I may have already scrolled past. I think it's a rare. Let me go back up. Where are my rares? Mask of Darkness. Again, just generating that value, right? Trap goes to the graveyard. Say you pull one of the power traps across these sets, you're able to bring it back to your hand. Kind of just being recursive in a format that is pretty grindy. These recursive cards are important. All right, let's talk about the spells here in Metal Raiders, and I'll try and continue to go quickly. Change of Heart, obviously the big hit, absolutely insane. Target one monster your opponent controls, take control of it. This is nuts. I think this is the I can't remember if this is the eroded version, but I think it's just take control of it. It's insane. Card's nuts. It's essentially inverting its attack. You take a defender away, you attack him back with it. Just absurd. Heavy Storm. This card's banned. Limited in the OCG, banned in the TCG. Really good. Destroy all spell trap cards on the field. Now that with these two sets we're seeing spells and traps go to a much higher power level, this becomes a really relevant effect. A couple other to take a look at is block attack. Just having the ability to shift the position of your opponent's monsters, as we saw with block defense in the first set, as well as Tremendous Fire. Want to highlight this because burn becomes a very viable strategy eventually, and Tremendous Fire is a pretty efficient burn card at 1,000 damage for one play, especially at this time. Yugi is very good. For the traps, there's not a ton, but the ones that there are really, really good. Really looking at that ultra rare slot here, Mirror Force and Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment, you simply negate a spell or trap. Yes, you pay half your life points, but if it wins the game, who cares? You know, those Raigeki activations I mentioned earlier, never again, right? And then Mirror Force, one of the all-time, I would say, most memorable cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! When your opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy all your opponent's attack position monsters. Notably, this triggers on declaration of attack, so the monster is destroyed and you do not take the damage. Really important. It's not on attack resolution, it's on declaration. Important text there. So those are the traps, monsters, and spells in Metal Raiders. Again, just the monster quality really goes up here in terms of new numbers and just that generative value over time. Let's go then to Magic Ruler. So here in Magic Ruler, don't mind all the ads playing here. Thank you, website. The focus is really going to be on the spells, right? The spells in this set are game warping, game defining, brain breaking, especially for your humble me. A set I wish I could throw deep into the bowels of the earth, but alas, here we are. So first, let's take on the monsters. A shorter list here, but really relevant cards. First one I want to touch on is Mahavilo. Basically, you add equipped cards to this card, of which there are many in this set, and this dude can get huge very fast, right? It's already 1550. Any equipped card, let's say it's 700, which there's a number of them in this set, 2250, 2750, like you're coming up on blue eyes with one equipped card on this guy. So really strong, can get out of hand fast with no answer, so highlighting that there. The next to highlight are the cyclers. So we're going to have Flying Kaminari 1, Giant Rat, Mother Grizzly, Mystic Tomato, Shining Angel, and UFO Turtle. Effectively, all of these cards have the same effect, which is when they're destroyed by a battle, you can special summon one monster of their same type with 1500 less attack from your deck in face-up attack position specifically. I believe these are all the same in that sense. Sorry, unfortunately, summoning Labyrinth Wall with the Earth one is all of a sudden not so good. But really strong. Really strong, just keeping yourself on the board, kind of getting that recursive play, keeping cards around for tribute summons, for cards that require tributes for effects, and just keeping yourself defended. These cyclers are generically good. They're in the rare slot. You should come away with a number of these. Other cards to highlight as a card that's actually limited, which we'll speak to in a sec, which is Cyberjar, which I'm hovering now. This card, when you flip it, so whether it's attacked or you flip it on your own turn, you destroy all the monsters on your field. Then reveal the top 5 cards from your deck, and your opponent does as well, and you special summon all of the revealed level 4 or lower monsters in face-up attack or face-down defense position, and add the remaining cards to your hand. So crazy, just a complete reset. Notably, if you do face-down defense position, that becomes hidden information. You don't have to tell your opponent which position has which card. That's not known, but very strong. At least I'll have to double check that, but I believe it's not known. So that's the jar. Other cards, a couple to highlight. These are lesser, I would say, like compared to what we've talked about. These are certainly less strong, but Sonic Bird is good down the road. Support for ritual decks just adds some consistency, and whenever you can essentially play one, draw one, that's pretty good. Sorry about that, my headset died on me. The nature of this kind of stuff. So that's Sonic Bird. And then Nimble Mamanga. This is kind of a funny card, but it is going to be relevant probably in our lower, well, for some of us, in our lower powered format. Can I find him here? Apologies, y'all. Let's just find this guy. Here we go. Nimble Mamanga. So our funny little squirrel friend here, when it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, the person who controlled it gains 1,000 lives, and you can special summon any number of Nimble Mamangas from your deck in face down defense. So if you have 3 of them, right, this guy gets attacked, died, you get to special summon 2 monsters and feasibly gain 3,000 life points along the way. Pretty good. Outside of those individually powerful monsters, we do have a couple of archetypes here as well, that being Tunes and Relinquished. I'm not going to go too in depth on them because your pulls will have to be pretty crazy to enable either of them, but if you do pull the ritual spell to summon Relinquished and the card itself, this is very good. Don't underestimate it. All right, the bulk of the set then, the spells. Okay, huge spells here. Game warping, read them all. It's worth your time. But let's focus on the ultra rares where the absolutely most absurd shit exists. But it honestly, it's everywhere in the set. So taking a look, Snatch Steal. Simply take an opponent's monster. You equip to a monster your opponent controls, you just take it. Yes, they gain 1,000 points in their standby. Who cares? You took their monster. Delinquent Duo. Pay 1,000 life points. Effectively, your opponent discards 2. Absolutely insane. You know, I guess you just don't play the game. Forceful Sentry. Look at your opponent's hand. Select the card to rip out of the hand and return it to the deck. Nuts. Absurd. Mystical Space Typhoon. The first quick play destroy mechanic. Target one spell trap on the field, destroy it. Notably, this doesn't negate, but it is the ability to destroy a trap or a spell that if it has to remain on the field to have an effect, you would then effectively negate it. This card's crazy. This is used through all of Yu-Gi-Oh! It is reprinted later, but it's really important. And you can tell that it's a quick play based on the lightning next to the spell card titling. The spells just continue to get crazy, though. Like, that's just the start. Axe of Despair is pretty good. Megamorph is a good troll. As we scroll up, Painful Choice, one of the greatest cards ever in Yu-Gi-Oh! If it's not immediately clear to you why, just note that discarding 4 cards is actually pretty good. Giant Trunade, return all spell and traps to the hand, really good. Confiscation, another fun one. Pay 1,000 life points, look at their hand, and rip a card out. Really cool, Kanye. Thank you very much. Even Messenger of Peace in the super rare slot, pretty good. Just as kind of a floodgate to keep your opponent from attacking. Toon World to enable the Toon decks, kind of a mandatory to even think about it. Black Pendant is good by itself. Black Illusion Ritual is the spell to summon Relinquished, like I mentioned earlier. So crazy stuff. All the spells are crazy. You want to see green when you pull in that rare slot, in the ultra rare slot, in the super rare slot. They're all really good. On the trap side, they are not really good. Spellbinding Circle is kind of funny. In terms of just freezing out one opponent's monster, but it's not very good. The traps in the set in general are not much to write home about. So that's the set. It's all about the spells. The monster quality's there in terms of the monsters that give you that recidivism, the special summon out. But the spells are crazy. All right, Tournament Pack 1, just a quick hitter. This isn't relevant to me. I didn't get to open any, but for those of you that do, the only thing to highlight is the couple few monsters that serve as fusion substitutes. If you're a polymerization enjoyer, couldn't be me. These can stand in for some of those cards you might be missing from your pool. But probably more importantly, the card you're really hunting is Mechanical Chaser. Now, it does get outpaced in this set by Dark Elf, but Mechanical Chaser is just a 4-star 1850, right? Last week, that would have been absurd. It's still good this week. So those are kind of the hits in TP1. So having walked through those, it's time to go to the next really relevant piece of this, and that is the first ban list in Yu-Gi-Oh! History and the ban list that we will be playing under this week. Now, notably, there are no true bans, and even if there were, we'd be treating it as limited. But the following cards are limited for this week's play. Cyberjar, the Exodia pieces, Change of Heart, Confiscation, Darkhold, Delinquent Duo, Monster Reborn, Painful Choice, Pot of Greed, Raigeki, Snatch Steal, Forceful Sentry, Upstart Goblin, and Mirror Force. Meaning you can only play one copy of each of those cards in your deck, making cards like Magician of Faith, recycling them, amongst others, even more powerful. There also are 5 cards that are semi-limited, those being Sangan, Witch of the Black Forest, Card Destruction, Heavy Storm, and Swords of Revealing Light, all of which you can only play 2 of in your deck. While generally I don't think this is going to be a big deal, please note that we will be doing deck checks after game just between opponents. You don't need to show everybody, you just need to show the person you just played, basically just to confirm compliance with the ban list. I don't expect anyone to cheat, I'm not worried about it, but just wanting to kind of drive that transparency so it's not a question we have to deal with down the road. All right. Notably, if you do show up with an illegal deck list, you play a game, unfortunately that game is going to be forfeit, right? It's going to be an auto loss. There's just no other way to handle it. It is what it is, and I'll place the link to the list in the chat. That's it then. The last thing I wanted to do was just take a look at the week 2 matchups. Notably, the schedule's been redone with the addition of our 11th player. Welcome, Billy. We do now have 2 ghost slots. These are going to be filled, as I put in the Discord, by one random player on duel night. So ideally, Joe and Tim this week, you'll be able to play on duel night, and we will random spin for who your opponent will be. That opponent will not gain or lose anything for playing other than experience, whereas for Joe and Tim, it will count as your real game. Taking a look at the list, I did identify one match of the week, and that is going to be the Never Lucky Battle. Truly, the 2 gamers that I know who have never had a dice roll, a bit of RNG, a coin flip, or otherwise go their way, go head to head. We have a Mitch versus Will duel this week. Who will come out on the top of the if my opponent just didn't have this one card challenge of a lifetime? We will see, and I await with bated breath to find out who that is. So that's it for this week's recap. Looking forward to the games. Good luck with your pulls, and I will see you on Monday for our Metal Raiders and Magic Ruler duels.